I accidentally joined a cult because I thought it was a CrossFit gym. Okay, before you judge me, let me just say I genuinely thought I was signing up for a workout class, like actual burpees and kettlebells kind of thing. You know those trendy warehouse gyms where everyone's sweating and yelling motivational things at each other like earn your breath and die strong? That's what I thought I was doing. Turns out I joined a cult. My name's Jake, I'm 29, very average, and possibly too trusting of things I find on Facebook Marketplace. It all started because my friend Melanie broke up with her fiance, and in solidarity, I decided to level up my life too, which apparently meant looking in the mirror one morning and saying, damn, I have the core strength of a wet sandwich. I should do something about that. So I Googled affordable CrossFit near me, and the top result was this place called Core Light Ascension Center. Now, red flag number one should have been the name. It sounds more like a spa run by Gwyneth Paltrow than a gym, but I didn't care. Their ad had everything I was looking for. Free intro session, protein smoothies included, transformative group experience. That last one sounded a little vague, but hey, maybe they just really believe in community workouts. So I signed up. I showed up the next morning in my Target gym shorts and a t-shirt that said "Sun's out, buns out." Ironic because my buns have not seen sun or squats in about a decade. The gym, or what I thought was a gym, was in this massive converted warehouse outside the city. It looked legit, ropes hanging from the ceiling, rubber mats, giant tractor tires, ambient flute music. Okay, maybe not the flute music. A guy with a ponytail, shirtless and glistening, greeted me at the door. "Welcome, brother," he said, clasping my hands like we were about to perform a medieval blood oath. I blinked. Thanks. You are here to ascend? I mean, yeah, I'm trying to do more pull-ups. He smiled serenely. We all begin somewhere. Okay, weird energy, but I wasn't ready to call it yet. He handed me a bottle of green liquid and a shirt that said Align, Awaken, Ascend. I put it on because it was free and also because he was still holding my old shirt in a way that felt non-negotiable. We did warm-ups, or what I thought were warm-ups. It started with regular stuff, lunges, planks, those weird frog hop things that make you feel like a toddler on Red Bull. But then it got weird. At one point, everyone stood in a circle, held hands, and chanted, "I am my own fire." Then the ponytail guy, his name is Bran, apparently, made us all stare into each other's eyes for 45 seconds without blinking. Have you ever stared into a stranger's eyes while both of you are covered in sweat and holding squats? It's a lot. Still, I figured it was just one of those woo-woo workout places. You know, the kind that gives you crystals with your post-workout smoothie and insists that trauma lives in the hips. I was halfway through a downward dog to jumping burpee hybrid when someone behind me whispered, "The vessel sees you." I turned. No one was talking to me. After the session, Bran clapped his hands and said, "Brothers and sisters, tonight we gather in the inner chamber. All are welcome. All must bring avocados." I laughed because I thought he was joking. He was not. 3 hours later, I found myself back at the warehouse holding a bag of avocados and wondering whether I should text Melanie and tell her to send help. The inner chamber was different. Dim candles, people in flowing white garments, a gong. Bran was at the front, shirt still nowhere in sight, standing in front of a whiteboard with a triangle drawn on it labeled physical purification, mental unlocking, spiritual ascension. He tapped each point like he was unveiling a business plan on Shark Tank. Tonight we begin step 1, the great emptying. I raised my hand. Hey, is this like intermittent fasting? Bran smiled. No, brother Jake, this is the path to release what anchors you. The vessel will help guide you. Then they brought out the vessel. It was a guy named Steven, wearing what I can only describe as wizard robes and the expression of a man who once got too high at Burning Man and never really came back. Steven/Vessel placed a bowl in the center of the group and told everyone to empty themselves. I thought maybe he meant like emotionally. No. People started pulling out objects and placing them into the bowl. Old receipts, photos, a sock, what I'm 90% sure was a taxidermied lizard. I panicked and threw in my car keys. After the session, I tried to ask for my keys back. "Let go of your attachments," Steven said.
Okay, so after that first night with Avocado Circle and the guy calling himself the Vessel, any normal person would have blocked their number and moved on. But I, Jake the Curious and moderately out of shape, chose chaos. Why? Because I'm nosy. And because deep down, I still kind of thought it might actually be a fitness thing, just with like extra glitter and chanting. Also, they give out free smoothies every visit. And listen, I'm not proud, but I will do a lot for a peanut butter banana protein shake. I returned 2 days later and was immediately greeted with the words, "Ah, Brother Jake has returned. He walks the spiral now." You know when you've been gone from work for a few days and everyone's acting weirdly supportive, like, "We totally didn't plan a coup while you were out." Yeah, that. Also, the spiral was not a metaphor. They had an actual chalk-drawn spiral on the gym floor now. We were supposed to walk it silently while releasing our inner bindings. One girl started crying halfway through. A guy in a beanie threw his Fitbit into the center like it had betrayed him. I just took my shoes off and quietly questioned my life choices. Rand pulled me aside after the session. He smelled like sage and confidence. "You've shown commitment," he said. "You are now eligible for level 2 initiation." Now, here's the thing. I've played enough video games to know leveling up is usually good. Better powers, new gear, unlockable abilities. I assume this would mean more complex workouts or access to the fancier kettlebells. Wrong. Level 2 initiation was goat yoga. Let me explain. Imagine trying to hold a warrior pose while a live goat climbs on your back and another tries to eat your shoelaces. Add to that a spiritual instructor named Kale, yes, really, who whispers affirmations like, "You are the wind, brother," every time a goat poops near your mat. And then, because I guess that wasn't enough, they played an audio recording of the vessel chanting affirmations while banging a gong every 6 minutes. One goat literally passed out. I don't know if it was a sound or an existential crisis. Afterward, Kale looked me in the eyes and said, "You're radiating inner potential. Soon, you'll be ready to meet her." Her? He wouldn't elaborate, just handed me a rogue and said, "Tuesday, midnight. Bring something that has caused you pain." I blinked. Like emotionally? Or are we talking back pain from goat feet? He smiled like a man who knows something and has legally signed an NDA. So obviously I went back Tuesday night. What, you thought I wouldn't? By now I'd fully leaned into the madness. I'd started calling it hot yoga but for emotions and kept a secret scorecard on my phone titled Cult Levels Achieve. I was up to 4, gave up my car keys temporarily, chanted with strangers, owned robe I didn't order from Amazon, goat yoga survivor. I figured if it got truly weird, I'd bail. Spoiler, it got weird. At midnight, I arrived in my robe, worn over regular clothes, I'm not a monster, and found the entire gym transformed. Candles everywhere, the words align, awaken, ascend, projected on the far wall like we were about to see a TED talk by a sorcerer. Brand welcomed us and gestured toward the altar of burdens, which, fun fact, was a fold-out table from Costco. One by one, we had to place something painful on the table. People dropped breakup letters, expired dog collars. One guy slammed down a single crock and then stood there whispering, "You know what you did." I panicked and put down my 2018 tax return. Then Brand said, "She is ready." Lights dimmed, music swelled, smoke machines activated, I swear, and she entered. She was a woman named Zena, about 6 feet tall, dressed in robes too, hair in a braid so long it looked like it had lore. She walked barefoot across the mats, eyes closed, hands raised. Everyone dropped to their knees like she was Beyonce appearing at a Renaissance fair. She opened her eyes and looked right at me. "You are new." "I am Jake," I said, because I panicked and forgot how to respond like a human. "You carry the weight of disbelief," she said. "That's just my student loans." Brand glared at me. Zena smiled. I felt like I'd passed some kind of secret test. She touched my forehead and whispered, "You are chosen for level 3. Prepare the path." Did she just floated away? Not literally. I think she just had a very smooth stride. But still,
Level 3 turned out to be an overnight retreat, a full weekend in the woods. I texted Melanie, "If I go missing in the next 72 hours, search for a cabin labeled Ascension Point. Also, never trust men named Brand."
She replied, "If you die, I'm taking your air fryer." Fair. So yeah, I packed a duffel bag full of protein bars, bug spray, and my one good hoodie and drove to the retreat location listed in an email with no punctuation and a .org domain that had been deactivated. Red flags? Absolutely. But at this point, I was all in. I told myself, maybe I'll gain inner clarity. Maybe I'll meet someone who also thinks this is insane. Maybe this is what personal growth looks like. Turns out, personal growth smells like citronella and mild panic. The cabin was deep in the woods, like no Wi-Fi and definitely murdery deep. There were about 20 of us, robes mandatory, phone service non-existent. The first thing they did was take our watches and say, "Time is a cage you must escape." Okay, cool, but I also missed lunch because I didn't know when it was. We sat in circles, we meditated, we were given spirit names. Mine was Falcon Silence, which sounds like a rejected Marvel superhero. We weren't allowed to speak for 24 hours, except for Xena, who walked among us playing a wooden flute and occasionally whispering phrases like, "Let go of your mirrors. You are not your job title. The squirrels are not laughing at you." No idea. By day 2, I was sleep deprived, overhydrated, and deeply suspicious of the quinoa stew they kept serving us. But something happened. I started liking it. The silence, the absurdity, the way no one cared about phones, jobs, or whether they were wearing matching socks. It was stupid and beautiful and completely off the grid. On day 3, I had an actual moment of clarity while standing barefoot in the river doing a cleansing of the ankles ritual. I realized I hadn't doom-scrolled Twitter in 72 hours, and for the first time in years, my brain felt quiet. Then Xena whispered behind me, "Soon you'll meet him." And that's when I remembered, we weren't done. This thing was about to go even deeper. Okay, quick recap if you're somehow just joining this absolutely spiraling dumpster fire of a journey. I, Jake, a reasonably intelligent 29-year-old man, joined what I thought was a CrossFit gym. It turned out to be a cult. There were robes, goat yoga, and a retreat in the woods. I was assigned a spirit name, Falcon Silence, what up? I may or may not have made eye contact with the high priestess of the group while barefoot in a river. And I'd just been told that I would soon meet him. Now, I don't know who he is, but judging by how serious everyone was about him, capital H, always whispered like Voldemort, I assumed it wasn't just a guy named Steve. But I digress. Let's jump back in. It's day 4 at the retreat, and I'm eating something they called sun porridge, which was just quinoa, lemon juice, and intentions served in a coconut bowl. One guy claimed it cured his fear of eye contact. I just got diarrhea. We were gathered in the clearing for our final convergence. Xena, the majestic, possibly clairvoyant queen bee of this forest chaos, stood in the center of a spiral made of flower petals and dry leaves. She wore a robe that had, no joke, LED lights sewn into it. "I'm ready," she announced, raising a stick, scepter, into the sky. "Let him rise." And that's when they wheeled him out. Yes, wheeled. They brought him in on what I can only describe as a modified Costco garden cart draped in purple velvet. Seated upon it was a man in his 60s wearing golden Crocs, a crown made of recycled aluminum cans, and, wait for it, a Bluetooth headset. He looked like a retired IT guy who tripped too hard at Burning Man and never came home. Everyone dropped to their knees like we were witnessing the second coming of Steve Jobs, except me, because I was too confused. Xena introduced him as Brother Ascendio, conduit of all, channel of infinite fire, and former regional manager of a Staples. I swear I'm not making that up.
Brother Ascendio spoke in metaphors and riddles for 20 minutes. He used phrases like, "The treadmill is just a circle you forgot to escape. All must release their inner spreadsheet. Return your receipts and ye shall be light." I clapped because everyone else clapped. At this point, I was worried that not clapping might get me sacrificed to the goat I saw chewing on someone's shoelaces earlier. Then he pointed at me. "You, Falcon Silence, come forth." I froze. Brand, still mysteriously shirtless after 4 full days in the woods, gently nudged me forward. I stepped into the circle of petals. Brother Ascendio looked at me and said, "You carry resistance in your clavicle."
Pretty sure that's a pulled muscle, I offered.
天无用美，圆圈左八盘行了. You doubt the path. I mean, yeah, there's a spreadsheet taped to a tree over there that says Soul Pyramid, Q2 Ascension Goals, 他你坚信底线, you mock. I do. He leaned closer. His headset beeped. "Do you wish to challenge the vessel?" Everyone gasped, even the goat. Xena stepped forward. He is not ready. But it was too late. The crowd was chanting, "Falcon, silence! Falcon, silence!" I had somehow become Spartacus of the cult. The challenge was announced, the rite of reflective descent, which turned out to be a 3-hour meditation inside a hollow tree trunk while listening to your own voice played back through a solar-powered speaker. Before entering, I had to record myself answering the question, "Who are you without your name?" 心一打印. I said, "Hungry." Everyone nodded like I had just spoken divine wisdom. I climbed into the tree trunk. 30 minutes in, I realized I was absolutely losing my mind. My own voice kept whispering things like, "Let go of time," and "You are more than your Amazon order history." The speaker glitched once and started playing part of a Shakira song. Still not sure if that was planned. By the time I crawled out, covered in bark and existential dread, the group looked at me like I was Neo from The Matrix. Bran cried, Xena kissed my forehead, and Brother Ascendio, the leader, declared, "Falcon Silence has risen. He is now Inner Flame 3rd tier." So, that should have been the end. But no, that's when the real chaos started. That night, back at the main lodge, I was handed a robe in a different color, which deep purple, and a ceremonial acorn. I had no idea what to do with it, so I carried it like it was a baby hamster. Bran approached me and said, "They trust you now. You're in." In what? He glanced around. The real inner circle. I said nothing, but my stomach dropped like I had just eaten gluten in a gluten-free cult. He led me to a back room behind the kitchen. 4 other people were already there, including Kale the Goat yoga guy, and someone I'd never seen without a blindfold until now. Bran whispered, "It's time we told you the truth. This isn't really a fitness group." I nodded slowly. "Oh, no way. You don't say." He leaned in. "It's a movement." "You mean like a bowel movement? Because I've had 4 since the sun porridge." Brad did not laugh. He pulled a tarp off a whiteboard. On it was a flowchart titled, "The Great Awakening Plan, 2025 Expansion." Lines connected cities, airports, yoga studios, Whole Foods. One arrow pointed to a cruise ship, another pointed to me. "Wait," I said, "why am I on here?" Bran looked grave. "Because you've shown promise. You shall lead the Arizona chapter." "What?" "You already radiate flame. Soon you'll radiate administration." My jaw was somewhere near my ankles. Xena walked in at that exact moment and said, "You're to be wed tomorrow." "To whom?"
She smiled. The goat. Let's recap, shall we? I joined a gym to do squats and get a six-pack. Instead, I joined a cult. A robe-wearing, goat-worshipping, gluten-avoiding cult led by a man named Brother Ascendio who wears Crocs and speaks in riddles about spreadsheets and fire. I, Jake, spirit name Falcon Silence, accidentally rose through the ranks and was now being prepped to run the Arizona chapter. Also, I was apparently being married to a goat in a ceremony they called the Union of Earth and Flame. Fun fact, it was a Wednesday. I didn't sleep that night. I lay on a hay-stuffed mattress in my assigned ascension chamber, staring at the wooden ceiling, clutching my ceremonial acorn and wondering how I'd gone from casual gym seeker to guy possibly getting legally bonded to livestock. Around 3 a.m., I snapped. No more waiting, no more pretending, no more sun porridge. I was going to escape. But first, I needed two things. My backpack, which they'd confiscated on arrival to purge corporate attachments, an actual plan. Spoiler, I got one of those things. Step 1, recon. I left my cabin quietly, robe fluttering in the moonlight like I was about to fight Dracula. The camp was eerily quiet, save for distant flute music. Someone was always playing a damn flute here. I crouched behind the outdoor smoothie station and watched as Bran emerged from the main lodge, shirtless, obviously, carrying a giant bucket of what looked like coconut oil and disappointment. When he was gone, I snuck around to the back. That's when I found Steve. Now, I hadn't mentioned Steve yet because for the last few days, I assumed he was a hallucination or someone's weird uncle who wandered in and never left. But no, Steve was a fellow recruit. Middle-aged, receding hairline, wore cargo shorts under his robe. The man was a legend. I found him sitting behind a bush, eating a contraband Snickers bar like it was caviar. "Steve?" I whispered. He looked up, eyes wide. "You're not one of them, are you?" "No," I said. "I think I'm being married to a goat tomorrow." Steve nodded solemnly. "Yeah, that's how they get you." Step 2. Allies. Turns out, Steve had been planning his own escape for 2 weeks. He called it Operation Lawn Flamingo. Why? Because it sounded stupid enough that no one would question it. Genius. He had a whole underground resistance going. Okay, it was just him and a girl named Carla who joined because she thought it was a vegan cooking camp and stayed for the weed. Together, we formed a plan. During morning sun gazing, Carla would fake a seizure. She used to do theater. She was very excited. While everyone freaked out, I'd sneak into the back lodge, grab our stuff, and meet Steve by the goat pen. Steve would hotwire the camp's golf cart. We'd flee into the woods and find a road. If that sounds chaotic, it's because it was. And yet, it almost worked. The day of the goat wedding. I woke up to Xena entering my cabin with a white robe and a crown made of ethically sourced feathers. "The goat awaits," she said, like that was a normal thing to say to someone before breakfast. She placed the crown on my head, then paused. "Do you feel your fire?" "Oh, it's burning," I said. "In fact, might be a full-on inferno." She took that as spiritual enthusiasm. I followed her to the field where chairs had been set up. Yes, actual chairs. There was a bouquet, there were printed programs. One said Union of Souls, Falcon Silence, plus Lady Tilly. That's right, the goat had a name. Lady freaking Tilly. She looked at me like she knew, like she'd already filled out the divorce papers. Carla made her move right on cue. Midway through the opening chant, she dropped to the ground, arms flailing like an inflatable tube man. "The spirits are leaving my body," she yelled. Chaos ensued. Bran ran for an herbal compress. Xena tried chanting in Latin. I think she was making it up. Everyone gathered around Carla in panic. That was my moment. I bolted. The heist. The lodge was empty. I grabbed my backpack, Steve's bag, and Carla's tiny purse with the weed leaf patch. I sprinted out the back, skidded down the hill, and reached the goat pen where Steve was already loading the golf cart. with a makeshift mat made of trail mix. Lady Tilly watched me, her eyes knowing, judging. She knew I was leaving her at the altar. "Don't make this weird," I muttered, untying the cart from the fence post. Steve jumped in, fired up the engine. Don't ask how he learned to hotwire a golf cart. I didn't. And we peeled out of that field like two idiots escaping a very low-budget episode of Survivor, Cult Edition. The chase. Did you think they just let us leave? Nope. Bran saw us. He let out a banshee scream and started chasing us on foot, shirtless, glistening, determined. Behind him, a few more followers joined, forming what can only be described as the world's slowest, most rope-flappy pursuit. Someone threw a piece of fruit. It hit Steve in the neck. "They've gone feral," he yelled. I ducked as Zena hurled a bamboo cup like a discus. "Return to your path," she screamed. "I never wanted this path," I screamed back. We bumped down the trail, the golf cart screeching like a dying raccoon, and finally, we saw pavement.
Glorious, smooth, non-cultish pavement. We burst onto the road like a scene from Mad Max if it was filmed in Portland. We made it. Aftermath. We hitchhiked to the nearest gas station. A guy named Don in a pickup truck took one look at us, covered in leaves, sweat, holding a goat crown, and just said, "Colts?" "Yeah," we sighed in unison. "Third one this week," he muttered, handing us Gatorades. We called Carla. She faked possession to buy herself time, and Xena declared her reborn, so they let her go. She's fine. She's currently running an actual vegan food truck called Sun Porridge 2.0, ironically. Steve started a subreddit called Escape the Glow, where people share stories of accidentally joining cults while looking for personal growth. It now has 18,000 members. And me? I went back to regular gyms. Boring, fluorescent-lit, protein-scented gyms where no one whispers about flames or asks you to marry livestock. But the story doesn't end there. Oh no. Because somehow, word spread. 6 months later. One random Tuesday, I get a DM on Instagram. "Hey, are you the guy who escaped the fire cult?" I hesitated before answering. "Depends. Who's asking?" "I'm starting a podcast. Want to talk about it?" I said no at first. But then, more messages came in. People who got lured into yoga collectives, energy cleanse cabins, and one guy who got trapped in a silent retreat in rural Ohio for 3 weeks because they misplaced the gate key. It was a thing. A whole community of semi-traumatized but very funny people trying to unpack the same question. Why do we keep accidentally joining cults when we just want to fix our lives? So I said yes to the podcast. I shared my story. I became a meme on TikTok for 48 hours. Someone made merch. One hoodie says, "Falcon Silence escaped the fire." I bought it, it's comfy. And then, get this, people started asking me for advice. Not like, "What protein shake do you drink?" advice. Like, should I go to this breathwork retreat in the woods with a guy named Lars who calls himself the Human Flute? I became the unofficial cult detector. Me, a guy who once sprinted away from a goat wedding in a golf cart. Today, I'm writing this because someone recently asked me, "Do you regret joining?" And you know what? I don't. Yeah, it was bonkers. Yeah, I still flinch at the sound of wooden flutes. But it gave me something unexpected. A sense of humor about myself. A wild story. A weirdly supportive online community. And the confidence to say, "This isn't for me," and actually leave. I didn't find abs. But I found something better. Boundaries. And also Steve. He's my best friend now. We play pickleball on weekends, and once a year we prank call Bran using goat noises. Final 15-second ending for voiceover or podcast outro. So yeah, I accidentally joined a cult trying to get fit. Ended up escaping with a new perspective, a Snickers addicted friend, and a spirit name I'll never live down. Moral of the story: if someone offers you free smoothies and enlightenment,